Ascot backs a winner. The Kitty Cat Cats were perplexed. There had been an unmistakable buzz of excitement in town all week. Yet despite their best efforts, they had not been able to find out why. Ginger had taken Tiger's squadron on numerous sweeps across town, yet could report nothing. Bogart had gone to town, lurking in alleyways, hoping to pick up a cast-off snippet of information. At the end of the week, though, he had to admit that, "Here's looking at no news, kid." Snowy had, rather bravely everyone thought, faced up to the hazards of the North Wall in broad daylight. Yet even at the very peak, with the town spread out below, he couldn't make head or tail of it at all. Of course, they had sent Stanley out as well. But although Stanley was a natural explorer, he never actually seemed to find anything. Ascot sighed. "We'll never find out what's going on." "What do you mean by we?" bristled Ginger. "I haven't seen you doing anything, Ascot." "Now, look here, Ginger," said Ascot timidly. Snowy stepped in quickly. "There's no point in arguing. Let's call it a day." But Ascot, stunned by his friend's accusation, turned away from them. "I'll show you," he cried. "I'll show you all." And with that, he was gone. "Oh dear," said Snowy. "Don't do anything silly, Ascot." But Ascot didn't hear. He just ran and ran and ran, jumping fences, hurdling walls, scurrying across gardens, scaling bridges, until quite exhausted, he realized he was completely lost. Even worse, he was surrounded by strangers. Confused and more than a little frightened, he darted for shelter into the first dark corner he could find and laid there shivering. It was a room of some kind, and he knew he wasn't alone. What on earth made noises like that? Surely it had to be a dragon. Wishing he'd never run away at all, Ascot curled up into a leather bag lying near him on the floor. He'd be safe now. Next minute, though, things got even worse. The door opened. "Let's get your saddlebags on, boy," said a voice, and there was an answering whinny from the dragon. Ascot felt himself lifted from the floor. Frantically, he tried to peek out. "Help!" he called softly. But he knew that Snowy and the others were miles away and couldn't help at all. The next few moments were a nightmare of noise, and still Ascot was in the dark. There was a clanking sound, and someone said, "They're off!" And at that moment, Ascot managed to poke his nose out of the saddlebag. He squealed. He was on the dragon's back, way off the ground, and they were thundering across a huge lawn. And coming up was a giant hedge, which they were sure to plough straight into. "Oh no! We're taking off!" thought Ascot, and watched horrified as they sailed high over the hedge and landed on another vast lawn. And at the end of this lawn, another giant hedge. "Enough's enough!" said Ascot. Just as they reached the next hedge, he worked himself free and found himself flying through the air. He was over the hedge and... "Oh no! Not that!" Hours later, a bedraggled Ascot found his way home, meeting Snowy and the others at the gate. "What happened? Why are you so wet?" "I've been flying on a dragon," said Ascot. "Gosh!" said Snowy. And even Ginger had to admit that Ascot had shown phenomenal bravery. Ascot suddenly felt much better about life. Yes, he had been brave, hadn't he? A familiar voice called out, "Ascot! Kitty Cat!" "Salmon today, Ascot," she said, as he came through the starting gate. "Great," thought Ascot, "so long as I don't have to go fishing for it myself." Bogart in Catablanca. One night, when there wasn't very much doing at all, the Kitty Cat Cats persuaded Bogart to tell them about his most exciting case. "Yes, come on, Bogart," said Ginger, who wasn't at all averse to relating his exploits to Tiger's squadron over and over again. "Okay, here's looking at you, guys," drawled Bogart. "I'll tell you about the time I was in a case a long, long way from home." "Even beyond the waste ground?" asked Ascot. "Yep, even beyond that. I was in Casablanca. Gosh, said Ascot wide-eyed. Even Ginger and Stanley haven't been that far. I have. Almost, said Stanley indignantly. But the others went, shh, and Bogart settled into his story, his audience completely hooked. There was a dame involved, of course. I tell you guys, I've never met anyone like her. She was from the smartest side of town, wearing the sleekest tortoiseshell coat you have ever seen. Real class. Her collar was studded with diamonds, and she ate her kitty cat off silver platters. I tell you guys, she swept me right off my feet. Luckily, I managed to land on all four. But from that moment on, I was putty in her paws. And the fact that we were in a place like Casablanca just added to the effect. Her name was Ingrid. I felt I knew her from somewhere. I kept trying to think of something smart to say, but in the end, all I could think of was, of all the cat flaps in all the world, you had to come through mine. She just purred that purr of hers and said, "Oh, Bogart, I need help. I hear you're the best guy for the job. Meet me at my place at 3. Then, with a look that would turn a Doberman to stone, she just turned and went out. I was stunned. The cat flap had sprung back and hit me square on the jaw. That afternoon, I went over to her place. Naturally, I cased the joint first. Just as I thought. It was beef. Ingrid was curled up on a sun lounger by the pool. As I walked over, I had the feeling I'd slipped up. Oh, nice of you to drop in, Bogart. Now, will you take the assignment? Yes, ma'am. But it'll cost you 2 cans of kitty cat per day. Not peanuts, she purred. There is no peanut variety, ma'am, I said deadpan. That made her smile. She told me her problems. I've got big trouble, Bogart. I've got to get out of Casablanca fast. No questions asked. I started to ask her if that evening was soon enough, but she snapped, I said no questions, Bogart. That night, I walked her to the airport. We went the back way. You bring me to all the nicest places, Bogart, she said. But I could tell she was frightened. At the bottom of the steps, she turned and purred at me. Oh, thanks, Bogart. Hey, you've got tears in your eyes. Are you sorry to see me leave? No, ma'am, I said. You're standing on my tail. She laughed softly and pressed a medallion into my paw. Here's something for your trouble, Bogart. A couple of minutes later, she was gone. And that was the last time I ever saw or heard anything of Ingrid. But do you know, guys, I still wear her medallion. I guess I always will. Look, that's real gold, fellas. Snowy, Ascot, Ginger, and Stanley couldn't take their eyes off the medallion. Finally, Bogart said, Okay, you guys, see you tomorrow. And with that, he strolled off into the moonlight, humming softly to himself. Once he was back in the kitchen, Bogart looked up at the delectable Ingrid and purred as loudly as he could. Go on, say it again, man. Here's your kitty cat, Bogart. Be a good boy and eat it all up. Yes, ma'am.